goal! Side of goal! And what a goal!
What's the crack? What's the bleeding story? How are you all doing? And all that bollocks. Well, first things first, let me just start by saying a huge shout out to Del Boy's daughter Lily, who is celebrating her sweet 16th today. And obviously Del and the family have gone out to celebrate the occasion with some food and some drinks. So Lily, shout out to you, and I hope you have an amazing day today, and we're going to obviously dedicate this particular result to you and your family. And Del, you probably would have missed something good today, but you know what? Family always comes first. But I hope this result will put a smile on your face and the faces of your entire family. And what can I say? There's only one thing better than a stoppage time winner, and that's 2 stoppage time winners. Take about Declan Rice and Gabriel Jesus. Now, it's amazing, really, to think that this formation change, long overdue, would never have happened had Thomas Partey not been injured. And obviously, we were all completely angry with that development, because it meant that, first of all, not only would we have an inverted right back to play today, but without Partey in for the good part of 3 months, how would our midfield be affected? Well, thankfully, Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard played starring roles in the midfield today. And obviously, there is one player who will not be mentioned. And Henry, good evening to you. And yes, you're more than welcome to come along. Scott, good evening. And good evening to everyone in the chat, by the way. Obviously, this is a good time to be here with Liverpool also doing quite well today. Good to have you on. And thankfully, we switched to something which resembled more of a flat back 4. And, it meant, of course, that Zinchenko was in at left back. And I'll give him credit. He didn't put a foot wrong today in defense. He did his job, and he did what he had to do. And, no real defensive calamities from him today. And we looked a little bit better, because not only was he able to cut into the midfield, but he also did his job perfectly in terms of keeping the defence a little bit tighter, not really allowing United to get through. And simply put, today we were outstanding, and it would have been a travesty of justice if we hadn't gotten all 3 points. But of course, credit to Manchester United, who always looked solid on the counter-attack. And that Garnacho goal, had it not been offside fractionally, could very well have deflated our spirits. But one thing about Arsenal versus United at home is that somehow we always seem to find an extra gear, and it was effectively a case of United switching off at 2 crucial moments and paying a heavy price. Onana probably should have done better for what was Rice's first winner. And then Gabriel Jesus coming on, the return of the Messiah. Obviously, Nketiah did his best, but never really had much of a sniff. And so with Jesus coming on, at least I wouldn't necessarily say that he is back and we've got our best strikers back. But, at least it's a start. And this was the sort of game that we needed to win today. Now, of course, Mr. Sullivan, I think, I don't know if you were at the game. Basically, he said it perfectly. It was Marcus Scumford helping himself to a goal, and defensively we were prized apart. And it was always going to be a case that, they would hit us on the counter if we weren't careful. But obviously, you are quite happy with the result. And good evening to Henry, to Scott, to Carl, my good mate. Wonderful to have you here. Delighted with the result. Lenny, good to have you on. And we've already got a few people coming in, so we are going to just welcome them in. Very good evening to Central, to Henry Baker, and of course Brandon from True Gunners TV. And I see you out there, Brandon. I think you might have gone to the stadium to watch it. We'll get to you in a minute. But Central, I'll start with you first, because we always go in that order. You hopped on immediately. You must be buzzing at that result. How was the performance? How did you enjoy it? And don't get me wrong, we're still far, far away from winning or even challenging for the league as of yet. But maybe it's another reminder that if it isn't broken, just don't fix it. Don't try anything stupid. Just go back to basics. Central, are you there, son? You're on mute.
Oh,
Yeah, I just saw that, by the way. But welcome back. How are you, son?
I'm good.
So, enjoyed that?
Yep, that was a good game. Yeah, I
You're
enjoyed it.
speechless, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm good. I think that was a good game. That was a good game, man. I thought when Garnacho scored, I thought oh man, but we dodged the bullet. I think getting 3 points out was the vital win for our season if we were going to challenge for the league. I'm very speechless. I'm happy we got the win against Man United.
Yeah, quite happy. And obviously, it was a relief to you that we didn't have to play, Party at right back because obviously he's now injured for 3 months, and we were worried about the midfield. We looked good against Manchester United, but I think there will be some bigger tests. How big of a loss do you think Party will be for us?
Is it me?
Yeah, you.
Oh
Because,
yeah. I think losing Party is kind of a big blow. I'm glad it's not like a long-term injury. I think he's about his rumors like 6 to 8 weeks, but the other rumor says he's out for like a 4 months or something. I'm not too sure, but losing Partey, that's a bit of a blow because he is a good midfielder, I think we managed without Partey in one game. It's only one game, The next game we might not be so lucky, We've got to be careful because we got after this international break, we got like Champions League games, League Cup games. I think we got Spurs later on in the month. Yeah. I'm kind of sketchy about without Partey, but hope he be back before. Hope he be back. Hope he has. I wish Partey a speedy recovery.
Terrific. Well, thanks a lot for your comments. Henry, good evening to you, sir. Both of us are celebrating wins with 3 goals, and Liverpool obviously, dominating an Aston Villa side that looked rather defensively weak, as Unai Emery said. And a lot of talk at the beginning of the season was how you'd struggled to replace the midfield, but you've made some pretty good buys in the transfer market, and you certainly look very sharp today. Szoboszlai certainly did quite well. Is your season well and fully back on track, and do you feel confident now?
Hi everybody. Yes, today's result was quite a good result. Our front line was good. Midfield was excellent. But I want to give a shout out to our defence of Gomez and Matip, because without Virgil van Dijk and Konate, we were supposedly maybe short on our usual defence. So it was anxious time going through the match because we didn't know how Gomez and Matip would pair up. And the fact that we got an early goal through
Szoboszlai
was a great starter. But then, of course, the own goal basically killed the game off, I think, because even before that, Arsenal had, not Arsenal, I've got Arsenal on the brain. Villa didn't really offer anything, and it was basically like a training game. So I don't think we've really been tested today. Now that we've got the international break for nearly 2 weeks, I think it will give time for Virgil to come back from his suspension because of the red card, and also for Trent because he is injured, but he's having a scan tomorrow to see if there's any lasting damage to his leg. But overall, I think it was a very good performance at Anfield, and because of Mo Salah, all the hanging over him about going to Saudi. But I think he also did very well. The link-up play was very good. So it's a plus, I think, today. I'm looking forward to the Wolves game after the international break.
Right. And obviously, we had some people who were in, but I think they've just sort of come out with, some Wi-Fi issues. I hope we'll get them back. But I'd like your perspective on Arsenal's performance, if I may, Henry. I did say at the beginning that it would have been unfair on us if we didn't come away with all the 3 points. We dominated United, but they were always going to be, threats on the counter. If you got to see our game, what did you think of our performance today?
When it swung Arsenal's way through Declan Rice, striking to put Arsenal in front. And as
yeah, I don't know who's playing that, but you might want to mute that, all right? I don't want to hear that. Thank you.
Gabriel Jesus had the final say on the break, and this is finished 3-1 to Arsenal.
Okay, so Henry, you can hear me now. So what did you think of our performance, Arsenal's?
As far as Arsenal, I'm glad you beat them. Really glad you beat them, because I cannot stand Man U for anything. But I think you've got some worries regarding Havertz, because he did that stupid kick in the penalty area, and it just went to Saka, I think it was. But he's supposed to be a striker, and he can't even put his foot through the ball and plant it into the net. But I also think that why on earth did Arsenal buy Havertz in the first place? He should not have been bought, because he is not good enough at all. I think the only reason why Havertz is at Arsenal is because Chelsea wanted him off their books so that Chelsea could buy someone else, because they also know that Havertz is not good enough. So it was here, have a dud to Arsenal so that we can buy someone better. And that's what they've done.
Yeah,
Because
couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Yeah,
they've
sorry,
got
go
way
ahead.
too many players. And I think they will have to sell those that they've bought enough to balance their books, because you're only allowed to have 25 players for the season, right? So how on earth can they balance the books when they've been buying and buying and buying and buying over $1 billion, 1.016 billion? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Agreed completely. And I didn't even want to mention Kai Havertz's name because, he might as well have been non-existent. A scuffed shot in the first half. I thought that he had at least earned some credit by winning a penalty, but, it turned out to be the right call to deny that after VAR. And I will say that VAR did do its job today. I'm not saying that simply because, Garnacho's goal was disallowed. According to the letter, of course, it had to go in. And obviously, like anyone who wants to join in, please, the link's in the chat right here, streamyard.com. And the rest. Just click this link, look back in the chat and just click and join on. We need some more people. And I'm getting a few negative comments over here. Obviously, Ali and Hendon Guna and others have pretty much said, luckiest manager going. We were awful today against the poor Manchester United side. No urgency until Rice scored. I think I'm going to disagree, really, because I'll tell you what. We started brightly. Martinelli was wonderful going down the left, and he literally was skinning Wan-Bissaka for the most part. Of course, Wan-Bissaka was making some decent recovery tackles, but you just got the feeling that Martinelli was completely upsetting the balance of that defence. And when you have to put Diogo Dalot on the left, who's arguably a better right back than left back, United's defence was always going to be patched up without Rafael Varane, and they ended up with Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans, two 30-somethings in the heart of their defence at the end. And we dominated them for the most part. All they did was take advantage of a few counter-attacks, really, and caught our defence napping at times. That was awful. But on the balance of play, I don't think people can deny that we deserve to win. Hendon Guna, good evening to you. And even you're saying got out of jail big time. Rice and Jesus saving Arteta's bacon. It would have been one of those games, mind you, where if we hadn't have gotten all 3 points, it would have been, tragic in many ways. You can certainly point to some individual mistakes and say that those cost us, but again, that would be football. I would say, and I think we can all agree, that it was a better performance today against Manchester United, than against Fulham that day, and a great way to go into the international break. Pargab, good to see you. Stellar ending to the game, but even you're saying we got out of jail and killed it, and even you're saying it was a terrible Arsenal performance. Arteta had been better fixed up, and I did say at the beginning that he was quite lucky, that Partey got injured, because it meant that he wasn't going to play his ridiculous tactic of having Partey at right back and having him come in, or at least someone who inverts better in theory, even if defensively he's also a liability, comes back in. And we had something which resembled more of a flat back four today. So it was better, but I think against a more solid team we could still struggle. But we need to take the 3 points today and say, it was a good win, and we have to go sort of take that and move forward. But one thing on which we can all agree is that with Havertz, we were effectively playing with 10 men, and shame that we had to wait until 98 minutes to get to the best part of the game, as Ali has said. And yeah, Ali, I'm going to come to your question now. We didn't. I take your point when you say that we didn't have too many shots against Onana. Saka did have a shot against him, which was, not really a shot because it was well saved in the end. But yeah, we weren't peppering them with shots. We weren't pressuring the defense, though. But now here's the thing: if you take a look at the midfield, for example, Ali, I do respect your opinion. We were actually trying our best to, overrun them, and I can't really think of too many opportunities that Manchester United had, except really on the counter. And Ramsdale had a more than decent game today. I say decent because, but he also didn't really put too much of a foot wrong. And Carl coming in here saying Arteta has to learn, for the love of God, that Havertz is simply not it. Neither Nketiah, drop them both now. And I will accept that Nketiah really, didn't really have that much of a shot. He was continuing to press and really, contributing a little bit more to the pressing game that United were having. And they were simply having, putting the defence under pressure. And I think you said it best, Mr. Rossi. Keep White at RB, Saliba and Gabriel in the centre, and that's it. Knock it off with the tinkering. And obviously, without Tierney, we don't have our best left back anymore. But Zinchenko is probably the best of a bad bunch at left back that we have. And Gavin's saying, Central, I'm going to come to you. Smile. We just won. Yeah, but so obviously we see a lot of people saying that we didn't really have too much in terms of shots on goal. But in the midfield, despite the presence of Havertz in the team, we did actually, start to dominate and press a little bit. And again, another appeal to all of you. The link's in the chat. Please come in. But Central, back to you. Do you share this view that just because we didn't really have too many shots against Andre Onana first up, we didn't really do much to dominate the game, because possession-wise, we weren't really doing too much wrong, and this is probably going to be the this was, of course, going to be the way we would beat Manchester United at the Emirates. Central.
I heard noise in the back. I heard noise in the background. I hear myself in the background. It's not me.
Yeah. Just hold on, but keep talking, and I'll set it right. Just keep talking, yeah.
Okay. The shot. I don't know. We did make some shots of the game. Like, yeah, it's not. Yeah, we dominate them on possession, but in shots wise, like we're not saying we. I'm not saying we should. We don't. I think we're. I need to check. I need to check this. One second. Yeah. I think like they. I don't think that. I think United made more shots than us. I can't. 1 second. My big. I think. Arsenal. 1 second. I'm trying to load this and check the stats. We made 5 shots, 17 shots, 5 on target. Wow, shit, we made more shots than them. Fuck. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't really have an answer, man. I'm not like a stats magician or some shit.
But obviously, you will agree that in terms of the possession, that we did dominate them, and it was basically a case of playing the waiting game as such. And what really impressed me was how we were able to respond very quickly after Rashford scored, because again, United really went to sleep. And we got Warren in the chat. Warren, if you want to join in, please do join in. So the link is in the chat, and obviously we're hoping to have you here. And you do have a point when you said United did have a goal disallowed, and papering over cracks isn't really going to help us move forward, unfortunately. And don't get me wrong, I do agree that we have cracks. I'm not going to deny that obviously there are going to be a lot of issues with our team going forward. The absence of Partey, as Central has mentioned, could very well affect us, especially after the international break, since we've got the European games coming up and also the domestic cup games. How do we fill for that absence? And I think there is now a case that Havertz should be dropped, and someone like a Jorginho should come into the center of the defense to at least add a little bit of solidity. The only problem is, I think many of us can all agree that Jorginho doesn't have the stamina of old anymore, and substitutions need to be. I mean, he can only come on as a substitute. And Hendon Gunnar saying it was a massive 3 points, but Havertz was awful. And I will perhaps agree that Saka didn't really have his best game today. He should have scored there from that opportunity, only just poke it straight at Onana. And I also think Onana won't look back on this game with fondness, especially for the way he conceded that Declan Rice first winner, and then of course Gabriel Jesus coming in and taking control. And another player who I thought had a wonderful game, even if not on set pieces, the work that Gabriel Martinelli did down the left in terms of, as I said, unsettling the defense, completely having Wan-Bissaka on his toes, was just outstanding. But obviously, when it comes to set pieces, maybe he just doesn't get the weight behind his shot that he needs. And of course, Havertz aside, it's very difficult to pick an Arsenal man of the match. I think Odegaard had a really good game, didn't ghost for once, tried to make a lot of things happen. Declan Rice also kept ticking along. I think it is fair. I will say that he was maybe not exactly non-existent, but not really, doing very much, just helping things tick along. But he was there at the right place at the right time. And Nketiah could marginally have done a little bit better, perhaps, but he still contributed. And we've got another guy in the chat, although not an Arsenal fan, a Brentford fan, and Mr. B.
Sure,
obviously, we're not going to talk so much about the about the Bees and how they did. I think it's fair to say, the Bees avoided getting stung by Bournemouth, but
he saved us. This guy, he saved us. And by mine.
Yep. Exactly. Who needs Ivan Toney? But
Exactly.
if you, and we see Del Boy is in the chat as himself. He's completely about to get celebrated, a double celebration tonight. Once again,
Yeah, be
happy
up there.
birthday to Lily. Yeah, happy birthday to Lily, and I hope you all enjoy yourselves tonight. You deserve every chance to celebrate.
Yeah.
And so, Mr. B, obviously you might have seen the game today, and
Yeah, I was
I
watching
think
it. Yeah.
it's fair
Yeah.
to say that we've got the we got the 3 points today, obviously, and obviously in the midfield we did dominate. We did have we probably might not have made our dominance count the way we would have liked to until very near the end, when United just simply went to sleep and we took advantage of that. And I think that might be just down to the fact that when we play Manchester United at the Emirates or at home, we just seem to kick it an extra gear, kick it into an extra gear. But United did hit us on the counter attack, but they also looked quite poor. What do you think of the game overall?
Oh, I thought it was a great game, mate. Yeah, I was watching it. So fantastic game, and talk about fine margins with that Garnacho. It was tight, wasn't it? I thought he was onside, to be quite honest with you, Garnacho, because Gabriel looked like, you should go back like that, not forward to play somebody offside. And Gabriel was slightly leaning forward, wasn't he? And I thought he was going to play him onside, and I thought that goal would have been allowed. But there you go. But, it all helped, and Arsenal deserved it, I think, in the end. Their finishing was great. Jesus, what a finish. Composure there, it's amazing.
Yeah, the
Rice
Messiah.
was a bit lucky. Rice won, wasn't it? A big deflection, but, you take it all, don't you?
Exactly. And the reason why, obviously, there is going to be a lot of understandable circumspection is because, last season as well, we had a lot of these last-minute late victories, which really got the fans, excited. And we had a lot of people immediately saying, stuff of champions, this is going to be our year, we're going to win the league. And one thing which I always have said is that you can't allow yourself to get away with all of these last-minute victories and have them paper over the cracks. And I think Warren and company will be right on that, because the same thing happened last season. We developed this level of hubris, and it cost us near the end. So I'm also going to say that we have some issues. As I said, Partey's injury is going to be a bit of a problem. And Havertz, I really don't like mentioning this fellow's name. I thought he was absolutely pants, as we would say. Yeah. He was pants. He really was.
He was,
and
that's how it is. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think it was said in the chat that if another positive that comes out from the game, as Carl Rossi said, is that if Havertz realizes that if Arteta realizes that Havertz simply isn't the solution to the problem, he drops him and brings him on as a substitute. And this was obviously the sort of game that we needed. And a question to be asked is, Arteta might possibly have fallen out with Trossard not coming on and Nelson coming on before him. A little bit odd. I think it's fair. Yeah, I think it's fair to say, and I'll give my perspective, and Mr. B, you can answer that question too. Maybe the situation at the time called for Nketiah to be replaced, and Jesus, being an out-and-out striker would have been the possibly the better choice ahead of Trossard, if it meant trying to, just tighten the game, as it were. And once again, a lot of us were quite frustrated with Arteta's late substitutions, but one might possibly say that things did work out in the end. Again, I will say, in spite of Arteta, because everyone, did their job, but you can't really complain about Gabriel Jesus coming on and taking advantage of some open spaces, some slack defending, and then scoring a late winner. And, Carl Rossi with a wonderful barb there saying, Arteta would fall out with his own shadow. It must be the case. And so once again, we see some poor man management. And I always say that Arteta is such a lucky so-and-so that if you throw him into the River Thames, he'll come out with a trout in his mouth. But again, obviously, I wonder if, from your perspective, Arteta deserves to be given a little bit more credit for this, or do you think, again, it was just a case of good fortune at this time, and we might not have been so lucky on any other day, Mr. B?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't get that thing with Trossard. I'd put him on ahead of anyone else any day, to be honest. And you know why he's not coming on? Why Nelson instead of him? I don't get that at all. I think Arteta seems to have his own ideas again. He's getting his own pep world, you know, pep Teta as he is really, you know. But you know, I think I don't get it, Manny. You know, what's he trying to do, Arteta? He's such strange thinking, isn't it? I don't understand it, man. It's weird. And you know, why Havertz? What is it about this guy? I really don't know. 65 million for that. Why is he worth it, man?
Yeah.
I ain't got a clue.
Yeah, look, it's Willian all over again. It really is, and you know, there comes a point when even the most novice of managers would, you know, realize that you can't make the same mistake again. If you make a mistake once, it's a mistake, but if you make it twice or more, it becomes a decision. And it's as if literally Arteta's deliberately trying to, you know, sabotage the team. Maybe it's really perhaps a case of the players really earning this win, and I think we have to give the players credit for sticking to what they had to do, because late substitutions once again, and not really. I think maybe Arteta in his heart of hearts knew that the players would give their all. So I think you've answered it correctly there, Mr. B. I can't really give Arteta any sort of credit, but now I'm going to come to you, Central. One of the biggest talking points, obviously, was the status of Aaron Ramsdale in goal, and talk about how he would be potentially replaced by David Raya today. XB, I do apologise for that, Mr. B, but I have to mention that. And but obviously, but Ramsdale started, made a decent save from Rashford, but also shanked a clearance to I don't quite remember who that was. It might have been Dallo or someone else, but it didn't really go. It didn't get punished, and you know, he didn't really put too much of a foot wrong. So as long as he's able to have a solid, dependable game where he doesn't do anything stupid or doesn't do much stupid, he should perhaps keep his place. But Central, what did you think of Ramsdale today? And do you think that he should still be replaced by Raya? Because there's a part of me that thinks that Ramsdale has to drop a dreadful stinker, and then Raya will get his chance. And I think Raya might get his chance in the Cups, and he could end up playing in some of our European games, perhaps.
My thoughts on Ramsdale playing. I think Ramsdale played good. I think it's his better game, better than the other 3 games so far this season. Like, I want to see Raya play because, you know, I think Raya, I don't know. I think Raya could play a part of this season, you know, depending if Ramsdale is injured or very bad form. But and in this game, I think he did well. I think he, you know, I can't really find like an error that he done wrong. You know, I think he, you know, I don't. I think he did well. He stayed very solid. You know, I think, you know, we need to see the old Ramsdale, not the Ramsdale like going into the last few games of last season and going into this season being that sloppy Ramsdale. We want to see the old Ramsdale. You know, very very solid, very what's that word? Very, very, just solid. Just stay solid. Don't do these stupid things.
Reliable. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's the thing about Ramsdale. He often tends to sweat the simple stuff. And, you know, when we had David Seaman in his pomp all those years ago, he never would sweat the small stuff. And he'd only really make the camera saves when the situation would desire. And that's how he was able to win so many trophies in his first few seasons. Ramsdale still has some way to go. And obviously Henry coming...
Right. That's right. That comment here, I think. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it could very well be. I mean, the Champions League is more prestigious than the Europa League, but it would make sense for you know, Raya to maybe get one of the European games. Except whenever we would play in Europe on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, we'd invariably have a 3-day period of rest. It would be a Sunday we'd play in the league if we play on a Wednesday, and then if we play on a Tuesday, it would be on Saturday. So I'm not too sure if Raya would necessarily play, but I'm sure Arteta has a plan for him. He'd better, after the way he treated Emi Martinez and Matt Ryan, he had better have a plan for him. And of course, Alex Runeson's not doing too badly for Cardiff either. That's good. But Henry, I'm coming to you now. Speaking of goalkeepers, of course, as a segue, you remember Ray Clements very well. I'm not sure you remember Bruce Grobbelaar very fondly, but it is what it is. But away from the goalkeepers now, I'm going to come to this question from Ali. Zinchenko, once again, going to the right side of the centre mid. He has to run further to get back to the left back position. It is crazy tactics. And look, Ali, I agree with you, mate. I'm sick of this inverted nonsense. I call it a perverted system, really. You could say that it's a bit of a play on words there, but I don't like it any more than you do. But I want to come to you, Henry, because with Liverpool as well, TAA, Trent Alexander-Arnold, now seems to have more of an inverted role these days, where he sort of comes into the midfield and sort of at times leaves the defence a little bit short-handed. And with Virgil van Dijk suspended for today's game, it meant that you had Joel Matip and Joe Gomez in the centre of the defence with Andy Robertson at left back as usual. When I saw of Joe Gomez, I thought that he would be really at his best at right back, either as cover for TAA or someone who could actually, play ahead of him in case TAA has a bit of a slump in form or drops some poor performances. Because whenever I've seen him play at centre-back, he's looked a bit like a duck out of water. And especially as a more traditional right-back who doesn't, invert, he'd be certainly a more solid option, allowing TAA to maybe double up as a midfielder and play in that midfield position. So clearly, Ali isn't a fan of that inverted style, and I think you will mention TAA got injured. But what do you think of the idea of this sort of inverted system that Klopp is using? Are you a fan of it too? And do you think that it's a bit too risky, perhaps? Because TAA was also very lucky against Newcastle, in my opinion.
Oh boy, where do you want me to start? That's a very loaded question.
Well, we're talking about Liverpool, so talk about TAA if you like.
I know. Well, right. When we play a 4-3-3 formation, without the inverted, and playing the high line, we were very good at the high line when we had Virgil and Konate alongside, or Virgil and Matip. But because we've had so many problems with our defence, because of when Virgil got injured with Picky Pickerson in Merseyside Derby, he hasn't looked back to his best because he is aging and his legs, I don't think, are as good as he was. But when you talk about the inverted role, with Trent coming out of the right back position and playing in front of like a back three, I think you saw it today. He was exceptionally good until he got injured, because he does those 30, 40, 50-yard balls across to the wing, or he will drift inside and then play a pass into the Nunes. But for me, I would go with the back three and then have 4 in midfield and 3 up front, because since Salah is playing in a different role, he has been world class plus. He's gone up a level. So I would have Trent in midfield and Robbo on the other side, Sosbo and McAllister in as well, and then have Virgil and Gomez and Kanate, I think, or Matip if one gets injured. But the problem was with our defence. When Virgil got injured in the Merseyside derby, Klopp should have played Phillips in his place, but because we took out players from midfield to hold that defence until Virgil came back, it blew the whole thing out of proportion. So, when you buy players, you must play them in their best position on the pitch to get the best out of them. If you put them in a place where they are not good they are not going to perform.
Absolutely.
And that's where we have come a cropper. So, I don't know. I mean, Klopp has got to take responsibility for his many mistakes when changing maybe the formation when someone gets injured. Because if you've got ready-made players to come into that position, you've got to play them. Otherwise, what's the point of having them?
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And let that be a lesson to you, Mikel. No more of this ridiculous Thomas Partey nonsense at right back. I know he comes in and plays as a midfielder, but neither of the 2 goals we conceded against Fulham would have happened if we had proper fullbacks in the team. And he still saw it fit to send Kieran Tierney to Spain on loan. I hope he enjoys himself and smashes it over there for Sociedad. But it kind of is what it is. And once again talking tactics, Mr. B. One question again. There's been some talk about how with Arteta having done what he did last season, he had a right to sort of start to experiment, as it were, and try and do something new. And a lot of people were saying that the old system inevitably eventually just failed because we weren't able to win the league. But if we look a little, I think Ali sort of says it. If Partey hadn't have been injured, he would have been at right back today, and Rashford would definitely have had a field day against him. Thankfully, better sense was shown, and Ben White came back into his natural position, and we had something which, at least in theory, resembled a flat back 4. But again, with this ridiculous experimentation, the only reason why our previous 4-2-3-1 system didn't work in the end was because Gabriel got injured, Jesus that is, so we couldn't play Nketiah as the lone striker at the time. And even now, with Nketiah, we still can't play him as a lone striker. He has to sort of slot into a 4-3, which is a little bit like what Liverpool have at the moment, and which is a bit like what Brentford do with Mbeumo and company. And then, of course, more injuries to key players. I also believe that when Arteta started to, completely disrespect Kieran Tierney by not giving him his opportunities and changing a system around him to sort of suit him, that also cost us in a way, because the best managers don't have grudges against certain players. So that's not. I'm sure you can agree that is not something that Thomas Frank would do, and I don't see any real problems with the Brentford team as such, because everyone seems to know their roles. But how much do you think Arteta's man management will cost us as an outsider looking in if he doesn't get his act together?
Big time, mate. Big time. I think he will. I mean, look what happened again last season. It was the same, wasn't it? What he was doing last season cost you in the end. So it's going to be the same thing, unless he's got to, drop his pride, his ego, and just, play, in the right positions, these players. It's not rocket science, is it, at the end of the day? Thomas Frank, he puts us in the right position, all the right players in the right positions. We're not inverted. There's nothing inverted with us at all. You just play them in their right positions. It's not, you don't have to be a scientist, do you? to know it.
Yeah,
and, he's just trying to be like Pep. He's Pep.
Exactly. You don't see Pinnock or Henry trying to cut into the midfield and invert. You play a flat back four every single time. And Jez in the chat. Good evening to you, sir. The last 15 minutes, we were outstanding, but the rest probably not so much. And it just goes to show what happens that when you take Kai Havertz off the pitch, the team probably goes up an extra gear. Maybe he shouldn't even start at all. Just bring him off the bench if you have to give him his games. But again, it's probably, just like the Willian saga, he has to have a minimum number of minutes. He's got to start every game up to a certain point in time. And, and what frustrated Ali was not closing them down when they had the ball in their own half. We just let them waste time. Having said that, I mean, in the first half, I think we were sort of trying to do whatever we could, but we could have pressed a little bit more. I'm willing to accept that, we should have probably looked to try to dominate them a little bit, especially with Eriksen and Casemiro being a little bit slow. But as it happens now, we've got some pessimism here from Ali. He's going to play every game. He wanted him and paid 65 million bob for him. So he is going to persist with the guy. And that means that Trossard will be overlooked yet again. Of course, I mean, to be fair, we do have some more games to play. Henry, you're raising your hand. You want to say something, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've got to go. But it's nice to be on this channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I will be on again soon, I hope. But I've got to go.
Thanks, Henry.
Yeah, but I'll just quickly shout you out if I may. So, your channel on YouTube is Henry Ray Baker, isn't it?
But,
yeah, your channel on YouTube.
I don't give out my socials because I don't
I understand.
trust people.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm not asking for that.
Because you never know who's behind the computer.
True. Yeah.
Right. Right.
No, I will be back on this channel time and time again because you're great guys.
Thanks.
And I will support this channel for a long time. I appreciate everyone.
Thank you very much indeed, Henry. You have yourself a good evening, and we will definitely see you again very soon.
But
all right.
Take care, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheers, Henry. And now we're back down to 3, which is why I'm once again putting the link in the chat. Any of you want to comment, just click the link and have your say. It gets a little bit lonely over here. Yeah, there's only 2 of us now. We've got a Brentford fan right over here in the chat. But so now, of course, obviously we've got the international break to come, so we won't have any club. We won't have any. I mean, don't call it boring, mate. I mean, I love international football, and I'm looking forward to seeing England play the Ukraine. Of course, we're going to crush Zinchenko's boys again, as we usually do. But hey,
it'd be fine again, wouldn't it?
Kind of, yeah. But now, of course, obviously after the international break, now that we got this result out of the way against United, we've got Everton against Arsenal coming up, and certainly after the way we've won today, I cannot see us going to a troubled Goodison Park and losing again. If we do lose, then that is it. That is our league challenge done and dusted. But I want to actually talk to you now, Central, about the Champions League, because we are starting with a home game against a PSV team, which is a little bit weakened. And then, of course, we've got the North London derby coming up at home. We've got a nice date with your lot, Mr. B, on the 26th of September. An away trip to the south coast to face Bournemouth. Another Champions League game. Another Champions League game against Lens, and then the Arsenal-Manchester City derby about a month or so from now. Actually, the Lens game will be a month from now, but we've got a home match against City. I don't have much hope for that. But we're going to talk about the run-in, but I also want to ask you, Central, about our Champions League draw and how you think we'll do, because I wasn't expecting that easy a draw, to be honest. I mean, easy in theory. We've got Sevilla, we've got PSV, we've got Lens. And what do you think? What are your expectations for our Champions League our Champions League campaign, and how do you think we'll do? And can we afford to, take these games easily? Because we should be able to qualify in theory from that group. However, PSV and Sevilla are not going to be pushovers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the game against I think our group, I think it's a little bit tough because like PSG, we know what they've done in us last season in the Europa League, but Sevilla, we haven't faced Sevilla in a very long time. I think it was way back in 2007, about 16 years. You know, we need to. I don't think we'll get like blitz this group like ease. I think we're going to struggle. We're going to drop points in that group. Whether it's against Sevilla or PSG, like
PSV.
PSV.
PSV. What did I say? PSG.
You said PSG.
No, I mean
Tough,
PSV. Yeah, we're facing PSV under Ruud van Nistelrooy. You know, but I think I don't know. I don't think we're going to top our group. I think it's between topping our group or finish runners up. It's I don't see we'll crash into the Europa League. I don't think that's going to happen, but this is Arsenal in Europe standards, we don't take Europe seriously, hope this season break our hoodoo of qualifying for the get into the quarterfinals of the Champions League, because like every time we play in this competition in the Champions League, we always get knocked out in the last 16 every single year. If I'll reach like my prediction exposition in the Champions League, our first season back in the Champions League, reach the quarterfinals. I don't say we're going to win it. We're nowhere near winning the competition. That's between Man City and Real Madrid and PSG. But my
PSV, son, you've said it again.
My expected is reaching the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
Yeah, quarterfinals, that could be a very interesting, prediction there. And we do have a comment from Jez who says that Sevilla, of course, are currently bottom of La Liga. So, yeah, kind of, yeah. And they've also had to deal with a couple of player departures. Gonzalo Montiel has come over to play in Nottingham Forest. And I think their goalkeeper, Bruno, has gone off to Saudi Arabia to, enjoy the lifestyle over there and earn a bit more dosh, really. So we got Jaminho in the chat saying his expectation could be to win the Champions League. I think in reality, mate, we've got Partey out for about 3 months, and that's going to take in some of our group stage games. So if he's fit for the knockout stages and we do play a more responsible team, then that's fine. But if I never see Thomas Partey at right back again, it will be too soon. And thankfully, that will not be the case anyway. But once again, people, do please come on. We've got the link over here. It's just the three of us sitting over here. And it's hard to find a few things to talk about. So Jam obviously saying Sevilla won't cause too much of a threat. They're probably going to target third in the group and might want to win the Europa. That could be the case. But then PSV also might end up playing hot potato with qualification from the group, although the way they demolished Rangers that day will suggest that they are serious about it. I mean, the less said about Rangers, the better. They're not the best team, of course, but that's sort of it kind of is what it is in a way. And now, of course, Mr. B, the big business will start, because I know that as a Brentford fan, you've been very eager to see us. To see your team rather have European ambitions of your own, whether it's qualifying for the the Conference League or even the Europa League, or maybe even a little bit higher than that. And I suppose the question I would like to ask you is, if you were to qualify for Europe this season, and Thomas Frank obviously will remain in the job, how would you go about preparing for your campaign, and what sort of outgoings and incomings will you have? And if Ivan Toney were to come back, obviously he will be coming back in January once his ban is expired. Would you just bring him back into the team immediately, given how well you're playing now without him?
Oh, that's a lot of questions to answer, but I'll have a go. I think, to be honest, we should have, in that last transfer window, we could have had two big players, that Bakayoko decided he didn't want to play for us. So basically, we bid like 38 mil or something for him, and he decided he don't want to play for Brentford. So what can you do? Brennan Johnson went. Did he go to Spurs? Did they accept the offer?
He did.
Go. Yeah, we bid twice for him, 40 mil. They rejected it twice. So, we did try, and we tried to get these big players. But I mean, the thing is with Tony, he could be gone for 80 mil. He might not actually play for us at all. Be coming back but not actually play. He could possibly go for 80 mil. So, if we got that 80 mil, we can get other players, who can build a new team almost with that, That's more money than we've ever dreamt of for Brentford, So, that'd be amazing. But, I think that's possible for Europe. But I don't know until we actually get another proper striker, Manny. I think we need another one. We got Mopé back. At one stage, I couldn't understand that. But now I kind of get it. He's only on loan. And if it works out, it works out. But if it doesn't, there you go. He's only on loan. But, if he gets some goals for us, that'd be great. Because he was, Championship, League One, he done well for us. So, you never know. But it's a long way to go, I think. And I can't say for sure we're going to get Europe. So, but, that middle half again would be great. Top 10. I'd love that. That'd be a success again. So,
obviously, when it comes to Tony, I think a large number of people will be saying that they wouldn't really, have much time for him, and maybe it wouldn't be fair to, it wouldn't be the right thing to try and get him if he can't really fit the
what he said about
system.
us, I don't mind him going, to be honest.
And of course, the system.
What he said about us, he rubbished us a lot. So
I get that.
Goes he goes. So I'm not bothered.
Yeah. But now let's talk But now we're going to talk a little bit about Manchester United, and obviously, coming to the opposition, we knew that they were going to have some problems with their defense. Yeah, they had a sort of a patched up defense today with Raphael Varane gone, and I think it's fair to say that he has been, he was a bit of a miss today. And again, Luke Shaw's injury meant that Dalot once again was at left back. He would have been better suited at right back. Reguilon joined in, was on the bench today, but for some reason he wasn't starting. Again, it was Dalot at left back and Wan-Bissaka at right back. And then Eriksen and Casemiro in the center of the defensive midfield. Eriksen did look good trying to get some balls over the top, and he did have that assist for Rashford's opener. But Casemiro showed a few good touches, but also in some ways looks a little bit slightly off the pace. And Central, if I can come to you, obviously United do have quite a few problems. As a neutral, I think, what do you think? What sort of changes do you think United would need to make to their team to make them, start getting competitive again? Because I think the injuries are starting to mount up, and they've got a few problems, perhaps.
Change their kit as well, I would. Looks like Newcastle.
Kind of, yeah, but but Central, what's your opinion on this?
Sorry, mate.
Wow. Man United, man, they've fallen off the radar, man. But it's what happened to Mount? Is he injured, Mount? He didn't play, Mount.
Yeah, he is injured.
Wow, shit. But they've got massive problems. The whole team. I think their biggest problems has to be the defense and the midfield. Losing Varane, that was a big blow. I think that's the problem with Varane. He's a good player, but he's always injured. I think a lot now. They just lost Lisandro Martinez. Boy, you got Maguire and probably Johnny Evans.
Nope.
He's.
Oh
no, I'm not frozen.
Okay. So
yeah, go ahead.
I think the next few games after the international break, you got Maguire and Evans. As a central back partnership, Dalot as the left back. I'm not really high on Dalot, man. I don't get the hype about him. I don't understand why. Yeah, I think he to play Reguilon. I thought that's weird. Reguilon going to Man United. like on loan. You know, I think it would be. I'd rather he stay at Spurs, man. I think he's a good. To me, I think he's a good left back. Reguilón. You know, I think he's a good upgrade in the left back department because Shaw is. I don't know. He's just Luke Shaw. Malacia, don't know about him, but the midfield, you know, Ericsson is just a shadow of his former self, man. You know, he's not the same Ericsson.
Well,
I think, in my opinion, here's my theories, you know, that I think Ericsson is just, he's never the same player after the Euros, you know, the last Euros in 2020, 2021, when he collapsed, you know, he's never the same player after that, you know. Casemiro.
Good for us.
You know, Casemiro, Casemiro, man, I think age is starting to catch up on him, you know, because he's like 30, 31. But the attack is fine. This is a problem with Rashford, you know, he's like some games is good, some games bad. There's no consistency of this guy, you know. I don't get the hype about this guy, you know. The dude's he's got good pace, but sometimes, like, I don't know, man. Sometimes he just don't give a shit. It's one of these he's kind of one of these dickhead players like Havertz, you know. They don't like give a crap. They don't give a crap about football. They only care about it's like making money. That's what they are. They're there for the paycheck. They don't care about becoming a legend, care about trophies, something like that, you know. One player has. I think the biggest mistake. This is my opinion. Is get rid of Mason Greenwood on loan. Put him on loan to Getafe. You know, it's maybe has to do. My theories has to do with the rape allegations. I don't want to talk about in this video. But I've been like this. I don't know this Rasmus Højlund. I don't.
Rasmus Højlund, yes.
I'm gonna call him. Yeah, I'm gonna call him Ramis, or it's gonna get confusing. But never. I never got the hype about this guy. You know, he scored 9 goals with Atalanta, and he's gone to Man United, the biggest club in world football. You know, it's just like they got. I think I guarantee that 100% that, you know, Ten Hag is going to get sacked. You know, I think he's never got backed. I think it's just. I don't know what this situation with the Saudi owners, you know, this is like they thought they're going to get bought this summer. So far in September, I don't know. This is going to happen. I don't know, man. This is a massive meltdown for Manchester United. You know, it's been around for 10 years ever since Fergie left. You know, that club went full off the cliff, man. And that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up as well as you possibly could there. Pretty much said what a lot of people will otherwise be thinking. And Mr. B, obviously, you know, Ericsson, of course, being a former B himself, you know, he still looks good in some respects, but I think it's fair to say that he isn't really as powerful as he could have been. And I think maybe the decision to get rid of Fred by letting him on go to Besiktas was probably an even bigger loss for United than letting Greenwood go. And I don't want to talk too much about Greenwood here, but again, they seem to have quite a few problems, and their defense is obviously the tipping point over here, the big talking point when. Especially when you consider how Harry Maguire was expected to be persona non grata and not even expected to get any minutes. He then comes on, as does Johnny Evans. And when you have those two on, you know, you've got all sorts of problems. And I've always rated Ten Hag for being, a smart tactician. But today, I think his players let him down. His team selection, in hindsight, probably let him down. And the sad part is that they did have a decent transfer window, getting in a decent reserve goalkeeper and also a few other players. They would have missed, if Amrabat had been, registered in time, he probably would have made some sort of a difference today. But again, it's all ifs and buts. But do you think at least that with United's new signings that they can somehow recover and at least try and make something of the season? Because the signs aren't good at the moment at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Well, picking up on what Central said about Ericsson, he did actually play well for us when he came to us. That short season, 1 season or whatever it was. He was actually really good for us. So I sort of disagree in that respect. But maybe at United he hasn't quite produced it, and whether he is had his day, I don't know. But and the thing Casemiro as well, I still think he's a top player. I mean, like he's early 30s now, but I still think he's a top player myself. As for what you were saying there, Manny, I think they need to do something. I mean, obviously they have brought some signings in Highland and all that, but I think they have to pick up. Obviously, I mean, it's tight today. They could have easily won that today, with that offside thing. If it was onside, if it had gone for them, maybe that would have been different. It was tighter. I thought it was going to be tight. I actually had 2-1 Arsenal today for that result, and it was actually 3-1, so I was close anyway. But but I knew it'd be tight. But I think United are a decent team still. I think they're not going to be probably up in the top 4, maybe 5th or 6th, possibly just finish outside. But they might win some trophy. Maybe Europe or something, or FA Cup, something like that. It will be a trophy, I reckon. But
yeah,
I don't think it'll be Premiership.
Bear in mind, of course, that they've also got what looks like an easy Champions League group in theory. Of course, Bayern Munich should probably crush them all way. Yeah, Bayern Munich should crush them all ways to Sunday, but they should still qualify second in the group and then maybe go into the knockout stages, only to lose in the last 16. But they're also obviously a team for whom any kind of success will paper over some existing cracks. And I think Onana didn't really cover himself with glory today, but he's also going to have a lot of work to do to keep his place, because they've got a new Turkish guy coming in. He has the number 1 jersey, but he is, of course, a backup. But he could end up, being thrust in.
Number 1,
and you can just imagine how desperate they were to get a reserve goalkeeper, with Henderson having gone to Crystal Palace. And, at that point, it would have meant that Tom Heaton was the only registered backup goalkeeper. That is how desperate United were at the time. So, once again, anyone who wants to come in a little bit late just to have your say on the weekend action, by all means do so. But now, of course, we're going to start with the... we're going to start wrapping it up in theory, but we will welcome anyone who wants to come on and have their say. And we are going to go to the player ratings. We're going to start, of course, with the goalkeeper, Ramsdale. I suppose we could possibly give him a 7 today. Quite decent. Didn't really put a foot wrong. And, yeah, sort of. So would both of you be happy with a 7, Central?
Yeah, I give him a 7. He didn't do wrong. And he played fine.
A bit more assured today, I think, than he was. He has been the last 2 or 3 games. He's been a bit dodgy, but I think he was good today. So yeah, 7. Yeah. Right,
that's perfect. Now, of course, we've got the right back. We call him Benny Blanco affectionately. Some of us do. But it was good to see him back at right back. And obviously, there was, of course, a moment when he and Saliba were basically split in half by a terrific Eriksen pass, which found Rashford for the opener. But apart from that, White probably didn't do too much wrong. And how much of a relief it is to have... How much of a relief it is to have a right back who can at least shut down an attack from a left winger. If White had played right back against Fulham, we wouldn't have conceded that goal. I'm eager to give him a 7. Mr. B, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with that fella. Yeah, I'll give him a 7 and all. Yeah, he done well.
Central?
Ben White. Ben White. Yeah, I'll give him a 7, man. He did fine. He did fine in this game. I think it's the right decision to have Ben White as a right back. If it was Thomas Partey, man, I feel like Jesus Christ, man. But but on the flip side, I think he did fine. Ben White,
That's good. That's good. Now, of course, we've got the central defensive partnership of William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. Talking about Saliba, steady game from him.
Good.
What?
both good today. I thought both really good. Saliba and
Yeah.
Gabriel.
We're going to talk about Saliba. Obviously, as you would say, Mr. B, he was, steady. Didn't really put a foot wrong, but again, that mistake where he
One
and
mistake,
White were
yeah,
both
good,
caught
yeah.
out by that Ericsson pass would have, blotted his copybook. But he wouldn't have minded. He played the whole 100 odd minutes of the game and looked quite assured. He gets a 7 from me. Central. What about you?
Who?
Saliba.
Saliba.
Okay. I think Saliba. I think he done well. I'll give him probably 8.5. I give him 8.5, man. I think he played solid in the back. You know, I don't see something wrong about Saliba. You know, I think he's been good. Yeah.
Okay, I could give him an 8 too. Mr.
It
B,
would
what
have
about
been
you?
an 8. I think maybe a 7 because of the mistake, maybe. But it would have been an 8, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, because obviously you don't want to get caught out with the ball like that. And of course, another big talking point is the return of Gabriel Magalhaes. Another, just one more proof of how if it isn't broken, do not fix it.
Right,
And when you
exactly.
have that solidity, that really made the difference because unlike United's back four, we looked a lot more solid and compatible, and we didn't really. I mean, they did find a way through some of our find a way through our defense on a few occasions on the counter,
Yeah.
but on the whole, I think we just looked a lot better defensively with
Solid,
Gabriel and
more solid,
Saliba
yeah.
playing back together. And I think I'd be tempted to give him a 7 or a 7.5, maybe even an 8. I think a 7 would be okay. And he now needs to start every single game more often now. Mr. B, how would you rate Mr. Magalhaes?
Yeah, I'd actually give him an 8, Manny, I think. Yeah, I'll give him an 8 because I thought he was really solid today. He looked really good. I mean, those two are the proper pairing, the proper central, centre-back pairing, I think, myself. Why he wasn't playing him, whether it was because he was maybe possibly leaving Gabriel with that thing with Saudi Arabia or whatever. They were in for him, weren't they? I thought that unsettled him, maybe. I don't know. But I think they're obviously back together now, and that's how they should be there. The proper centre-back pairing. So, yeah. So,
right. Central, what about you?
Gabriel Magalhaes. I give him, I think I'd give him a 7, man. He done all right. You know, I think slotting Gabriel back in the centre-back partnership with Saliba was the right call, you know. They tried it with Kivior, didn't pan out, you know. Yeah, the whole stuff with, I'm not going to talk about the whole link with Saudi Arabia, man. Like that's I don't. But besides that, I think he didn't do a foot wrong. You know, he's solid. You know, he's not got the bozo gene.
No.
Yeah, that is of course good to see. And now, of course, we've got our inverted left back Zinchenko. Obviously, bringing him back into the side with Partey injured was effectively adopting the lesser of two evils. We replaced a right back who couldn't defend with a left back who couldn't defend. But this time around, in addition to doing his usual inverted stuff, this time around he didn't really put too much of a foot wrong, and he certainly was played a big role in the relentless nature of the. Of that midfield. And that just goes to show when you have this system which works really well with a more accomplished central defensive pairing, you know, at least in theory it should be better. And you would have liked to the only criticism that you'd have of this system is that Zinchenko just can't defend down the right. But although Anthony did have a more than decent game, he wasn't necessarily able to get the better of Zinchenko. So I'd be tempted in some ways to give him a 7.5 because he had a really, I mean, it was a better game than expected in many ways. Central, what's your opinion on that?
Zinchenko, I give him a 6. You know, he didn't really play that bad or great. You know, it's he's gonna play in that left back position. You know, because Tierney is now gone to Spain on loan. Like he's gonna play that inverted crap. That is just like his natural position is a midfielder. He's a central midfielder. You know, I think he plays central midfield in that for Ukraine. You know, I don't get. You know, I never get the height of Zinchenko. I was buying into it like Zinchenko is a left back, but unfortunately that's not the case. But I don't see him playing as a midfielder for this season. it's going to be a left back, or the inverted left back, throughout the season. And depending on what this situation with Tini, man, that's another story for another time.
Yeah, we don't really want to talk about that. Mr. B, what's your opinion on Zinchenko?
I know you don't want to talk about Tierney, but I still think that's a mistake letting him go. But anyway, I think Zinchenko is a midfielder, like Central was just saying. He is really a midfielder, plays there for Ukraine, that's his proper position. But he done okay today. There was no mistake, so I would say 6 or 7, like Central was saying, one of the, or 7.5 as you said. So yeah, something like that really.
Okay, so now we move on to the midfield and the captain who brought us back into the game with an opportunistic goal. And criticism of him, of course, is that he often ghosts in the big games and doesn't make himself really seen very often.
Yeah.
You could say, in theory, this was a big game, but it was against a team that really was, patched up. And I think Peter Schmeichel said it in commentary. You are always the most vulnerable when you've scored because you've got to, tune your mind back immediately to defending. And United just allowed themselves to switch off. And that's sort of how it proved today. But he was trying to make a lot of things happen. And that was a very well taken goal. I'd be more than willing to give him a rating slightly lower than that of his jersey number, a 7.5. Because we need to see more performances like this from him. And the more we can see that, the better it can be. And of course, he was brought off with seconds to go for Jorginho, so Jorginho won't really get a rating. But obviously, Odegaard's, with the goal he scored and how he was involved, again, I'd be tempted to give him a 7.5. Mr. B?
Yeah, I'll probably agree with that. I mean, at times he still tries to do too much, and he should have a shot, and he feints again and goes in, and then does a weak little thing, and I mean, he's a good player, great player. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes you just do a shot when you have a chance, take the shot, take it. But it was a good goal. He took his goal well, so yeah, I would probably say 7. At least today. So
okay, yeah, 7.5 is where I would go. Central, what about you, son?
Okay, Odegaard, I give him 7.5 out of 10. I think that goal was good today. I think he tries too hard, trying to shoot, do some shots, but I don't think he done something bad today. I can't really call it an error or a mistake. He didn't have a superb game, but he had a decent game.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the jury's still out on him as far as you're concerned, but that's perfectly fine. As I said, we need to see more and more performances like that from him.
Yeah.
And now, of course, one of the game winners, Declan Rice. We got him from West Ham, where he captained his team to a European trophy before having a glorious goodbye.
Yeah.
A lot of people were complaining that this Rice was a little bit undercooked. Today, for me, he certainly, kept things ticking along in the midfield. And when you consider that a certain someone was as good as non-existent, he and Odegaard did a lot to keep that midfield ticking and really work hard. I don't know if he necessarily was a very dominant force in terms of his tackle, but obviously the goal sort of gives him a little bit more credit. I'd be tempted to give him a 7 for this game, but really only because of the goal he scored. But he does seem to be slotting in fairly well and doing what he has to do. And if he can continue to grow more into this midfield, it can only be good. But then, when you shell out 105 million bob for a player, he has to be a little bit good. And we do have a Manchester United fan coming and joining us, so no bantering. I want you all to be respectful. A close friend of mine who some of you will know, Oris from Oris Talks Football. Welcome along, son. Bro. And as I promised, no banter. I think it's fair to say that it might have been a little bit harsh on United that you lost, but you were, for the most part, dominant. But you did look good on the counter, though. Before we continue with our ratings, how do you feel about the performance today?
Yeah, you guys deserved it for me. To be letting 2 goals for me. I'm not scrappy, but 2 undeserved goals for me. Obviously, got natural goal and then got disallowed. This is football, man. Like, you can celebrate for 1 minute and then you get decisions overturned. So, yeah, I'm gonna give my full credits to you guys. Again, we need to work on our set pieces because I've always said that United are terrible with their set pieces. But yeah, it's a lesson to learn for 10-0 really. But yeah, we just have to move on. Really, we just have to move on. Thank God international breaks is. So yeah, you guys deserved it, man.
Yeah, and obviously, news is that Victor Lindelof has gone off with a bit of an injury. He was limping when he went off. The injuries are starting to pile up. You did make some good purchases in the transfer window, but I think defensively, ending up with Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans in the centre of the defence, not exactly a good look for you, eh?
We might as well create the whole Leicester squad, really, because Maguire and Evans will be back. So just get the whole Leicester team in. So.
I get that, but don't worry about it. We'll continue with the ratings in a minute. But Brandon, I know you joined us earlier. You were outside, and I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to bring you on. Maybe some Wi-Fi trouble, but it's good to have you back. And I know that you and a lot of others were absolutely seething at our transfer window, and correctly so. You would have been even madder at the news that Thomas Partey would be out injured. Of course, one good thing that he wasn't going to be playing at right back today. How pleased are you with the performance? And do you also share the opinion that we've once again papered over some cracks today?
Definitely papered over some cracks. We got out of jail today. We got out of jail. I don't care what anybody says, we got out of jail. Because for large parts of that game, we wasn't good enough. And, I look at how we played defensively. When the team lineup came out, I was a lot more happier because Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba and White at the back worked for us last season. But I look at the way that Manchester United were hitting us on the transition, and there was quite a lot of times where they had players that could actually finish, or if they had, somebody with a better touch, they was getting themselves in some very, very good positions on the pitch to create us some problems. And I think Man United's issue today was their lack of clinicalness in front of goal, because they could have had more than the goal that they scored. And, if that Garnacho goal ends up being onside, we're coming on here and having a totally different conversation. So, of course, a lot of Arsenal fans will be happy. And I am happy. Don't get it twisted. I'm happy that we won the game 3-1. I'm happy that the players showed a bit of fight like they did last season, coming up with late goals to win us games. But when you're having to rely on a 8 to 10 minute period at the end of the game to win you the game because you haven't been good enough for the other 85 minutes, it is a worry. And, the whole Thomas Partey injury thing, you can look at it in one or two ways. It's a good thing because we didn't have to see him play right back today, and Marcus Rashford would have absolutely cooked him. But at the same time, if we get any more injuries now to this squad, we're in big trouble. Big trouble. We've got Kai Havertz out here dropping out stinkers, right? The best way to sum up Kai Havertz is just watch that chance in the first half. That's how you sum up Kai Havertz. Yeah? Should be scoring from 6 yards out, and he's slicing at the ball.
Yeah, sure.
Honest to God, this guy, right? He gets himself in some very good positions on the pitch, but then he does nothing. And it's an absolute waste of 65 million, right? And Arteta seems so desperate to prove to everyone that he's made the right decision with Kai Havertz. When really and truly, boys, right? I like managers that play players based off of merit, right? Yeah. So I was happy to see Eddie Nketiah starting up front today because he's played him based off of merit. His performances over the last couple of games warranted him starting up front, right? Ahead of Jesus. So I wasn't too bothered about the Nketiah starting up front thing, right? But for me today, if you're going to play with Rice as a lone 6, and then you're going to have Odegaard and a so-called number 8 or a more attacking-minded midfielder, he had to start Fabio Vieira because Fabio Vieira came off the bench against Fulham and changed the game for Arsenal. And this is what pisses me off about this manager, right? Because he's not clued up properly, you know? If you've got a player that's on form and, you know, he's just had one of the best performances that we've seen him have in an Arsenal shirt coming off the bench, you build on that by giving him more game time. And then, say, for example, if we played Fabio Vieira today instead of Kai Havertz, number one, we might have had the game already won and done and finished because, again, he came on today and he did very well, right? But also, if he drops a stinker, then you don't play him the next game. But I don't know what it is. I've got he's got such an obsession with playing Kai Havertz. The guy has stunk the place out all season so far. Absolutely. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And it's going to be at the detriment to this football club because, again, I'll say it. We won the game today. Everybody deserves to be happy, right? Because we won the game. And it's Manchester United. And, you know, they're arguably our biggest rivals, especially in history, right? So it's nice to see the United fans upset. It's nice to see them annoyed. And we can come out of that and go, haha, you know, we nicked the game off you even though we was crap. But we've got to look at the bigger picture as well. These performances we're showing at the moment are unsustainable. Unsustainable. Last season, when we was so great, the reason why the majority of the Arsenal fan base, including some of us, felt we could go on to win the league was because every single performance that we did, week in, week out, was top notch. We'd go out there against a poor Man United team or a poor Brentford or whoever it may be, and we would kill the game off early. And we would absolutely slap these teams about.
Okay, Brandon, listen. Brandon, listen. Let me just sorry to interrupt you, but Warren, if you're still there, I want to just get you on to say a few words. I think you mentioned in the chat that you know, we were papering over the cracks, and I think Brandon has pretty much highlighted it. And I'm also not going to be naive to say that it was perfect in any way, because we did have show some issues. We did have a few things going on, but at least are you at least pleased with the fact that we were able to, you know, pull something out of that game? And also, you know, does that give you any confidence going forward? Because we do still have to deal with the party injury, and obviously we're quite angry with the transfer window, I'm sure.
No, that performance today, mate, Brandon, everything Brandon said is absolutely spot on, right? Yeah. That Kai Havertz, right? My next door neighbour's 5-year-old son could have done better with that shot than what he did. It was an absolute joke, right? I saw when I was all of you except Maddie don't know where I've been. I've been trying to get highlights of the game that we played today on here so that we can talk about it, look at the videos and look at it. But unfortunately, I can't get any copyright-free ones. Okay? But when I was doing it, Manchester United's first goal and then the goal that they got disallowed, they just walked through our midfield with ease, with absolute ease. And they're in a mess. I'm telling you now, when we play Tottenham in a couple of weeks, I think we're playing them in a couple of weeks, they are going, if they carry on playing the way they are, they will rip us to shreds. They will absolutely destroy us because that midfield is shocking. We just spent £100 million supposedly on a defensive midfielder, right, to shore up our midfield. What was he doing? What was he doing? Yeah, I know he scored a goal, fair play, but why were the United just able to walk through our midfield like that twice? And both times it led to a goal, and the second one, it was marginal. It was a paper thin difference between being onside and offside. So we got away with it again. This situation with this manager, it needs to get sorted out. We need to get rid of him. He's not good enough. He's tactically inept. Getting people to invert all the time, it's a load of absolute nonsense. And since April last year, every single game, more or less, that we played, 99% of games that we played, we've conceded 2 or more goals. It's not sustainable. And everything Brandon said was 100% right. But anyway, listen, guys, I'm really sorry, but I do have to go. So I'm going to...
Yeah, but thanks a lot for coming on, Warren. I will shout out your channel, Warren's Team Talk. Terrific. Obviously you've got the full day watch along for the Premier League games and also other football during the weekend. You also do some terrific content for Diesel Arsenal's channel. Always a pleasure to have you on. Take care of yourself and have yourself a good evening.
Thank you very much, mate. You take care. Good night, everyone.
All right.
Thanks
All right. Thanks a lot for coming.
Yep.
Thanks a lot as well to Orest from Orest Talks Football and Brandon from True Gunners TV for coming on. I've just mentioned their channels. Do subscribe to them. Now, of course, we'll get back to the player ratings, and we are talking a bit about Declan Rice. We started with him, but then we had them coming on. Now, I think it's fair to say that the views on Declan Rice have been a little bit contrasting here. I was about to say that, he wasn't really doing too much. And of course, it was a steady game. He did get one winner, but didn't really contribute very much. I'm still tempted to give him a 7 for the game because at least he popped up when it mattered. Yeah. He's still perhaps growing into the team and trying to make him do as well as he can. But maybe he now needs to kick on from this with a little bit more confidence. And obviously, Del Boy is back in the chat, buzzing after the win. And as I mentioned, mate, we did shout out your daughter. So happy birthday once again to Lily, and I hope you enjoyed a great evening. And thanks a lot for giving me the chance. Yeah, thanks a lot for giving me the chance to, host. And of course, you agree we're a much better team without Havertz in it. And sack him in the morning, bring a proper manager. As I've said, it was a win that was earned despite Arteta, not because of him. But with Rice, I'm tempted to give him a 7. Central, what would be your rating for Declan Rice today? I think maybe a 7 would be the best thing for him.
This is difficult. Yeah, I give him a 7. I think without Rice's goal, I don't know if we win. I think he did fine. He did fine. I think he did fine in this game against Man United. I feel like so far in his Arsenal career, he hasn't done something wrong, but he hasn't done superb so far. I know it's early days. This is a 38 game league. It's time will tell. But I think he did score. I think see him score his first goal for Arsenal was big for him. He's the 105-pound player, and I think he had a chance in the first half, and the header was wide. But besides that, he did fine. He's starting to get sell of a big club. Like no disrespect to West Ham, but it's hard to you're doing well again in a small club, then you transfer into the big club, you end up struggling and be falling away on the wave side. So
yeah, well, we need to give West Ham a bit more respect, son, because they've recently won a European trophy and we haven't.
Beaten as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Darren also makes a good point that with Havertz being non-existent, he was along with Odegaard holding the midfield together, and I did say that. I mean, I'd give him a 7. I'd give him a 7 or a 7.5. Darren goes one better, saying that he should get an 8 out of 10, showing the forwards how it's done instead of mucking about. He had a shot and it paid off. And nobody's digging out Martinelli, who won corners all day. We're going to come to Martinelli in a minute. But I suppose I could raise mine to a 7.5 for Rice, maybe. Mr. B, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with Darren there as well. I think he had a really great game. I mean, not quite the level of what he was at West Ham yet. I mean, obviously, he's still got to carry on. He's got to bed in more. He's only been there a little while at Arsenal. So he's got further to go. He's got the whole season. I'm sure he'll come good, really good. Probably by next, probably January or something, or a bit before. I'm sure he'll come good. So I'd say 8 for that, for getting that goal, important goal as well. You know, deflected
Wonderful,
goal.
wonderful. Now, I think we can all agree that on the rating for the other midfielder, so we're going to pass him over. We're not even going to mention his name. He's just not worth it. Starboy, Bukayo Saka, number 7. A very sort of disappointing game from him for me personally, because he just never seemed to be really able to get into the game very much. And I think Dallo, to his credit, sort of had him dealt with, really.
Yeah.
He will look back on that shot he had against Onana and be kicking himself for not really doing better with that, because Onana was actually retreating away. He could have shot anywhere, well, I think Jez is now being very generous with Declan Rice, giving him a 9, being a man of the match. I suppose, there is a strong case for that. I think that would be kind of perfect. And if and now Ace is saying if Saliba gets a serious injury this season, we're completely out, because I mean we've got rid of Rob Holding as well. So who can we possibly get in? Kirill, perhaps. Oh boy! And we are talking on.
What a terrible thing!
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not terrible for several people, and of course, Saka. Darren coming over here saying that Saka has dropped off his levels now, nowhere near his best, and today pretty much proved that. I think without talking further, I'd be tempted to really only give him no more than a 6, because I mean he would. When Saka and Martinelli play on the wing, they do look very threatening. But he just doesn't really do that much more. And we're going to come to Martinelli later on. But a 6 for Saka, less than his jersey number. Mr. B, would you confirm with that?
Yeah, I agree, mate. Yeah, I agree with 6. Not his best game today at all, I'm afraid. He's been a lot better than that. And you've seen him when he cuts in. I like it when he cuts in and he does that curling goal. That goal he got, what was it, 2 or 3 games ago? He got a
against Forest.
Yeah.
Forest.
It was an amazing goal. When he can do that, but he wasn't at it today, was he? He just wasn't at it, unfortunately. So 6, I agree with that.
And the worst part is that he could potentially get found out, because he is starting to, mentally tie a little bit, and other defenses, especially in the Champions League, could have his number. We need to go into the Champions League games without any kind of fear, but still, he needs to be rested as often as possible. Central, Saka, 6. Do you concur?
Yeah, I think 6, man. He's ever since he scored that Nottingham Forest goal about 2 or 3 games ago, he's just like, his form's kind of dropped off, man. I think he needs to rest. He's just like, I don't know. He needs to be on the bench. He's a good player. I think Arteta's working him down to the ground. He's only like 21. I'm not. He's 21. He looks too young. If he keeps playing in that highest, this is the highest. This is the highest level. Most of these players who start out in their 17, 18, 19, and they end up finish by the time they're in their mid-20s. I think in the next game after the international break, he needs to rest. Play Reece. I don't know. I think Pepe's time at Arsenal is come to an end. That's another story for another time.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Nelson was brought on, and we're going to come to Nelson in a minute. I think it probably does signal that Pepe could be over, but there's still some hope that with the games we've got, some forgotten players could find their way back, especially with injuries. But at this point, it might be a bit of a shot in the dark. Eddie Nketiah, he had the defense in trouble a little bit, but didn't get a shot on. And Brandon was saying that it was good that he started today, because obviously his performance against Fulham merited. Yeah. But maybe he's one of those players who just seems to perform better off the bench than, was starting from the start. Yeah, because he never really had much of a shot he didn't have a single shot on target, but he was, to his credit, making the defense a little bit uncomfortable, sort of having them at 6s and 7s at times, and really being a part of that big press. And I think and I think Jez has just confirmed that Pepe doesn't have a squad number. Maybe that could change later on the season. I don't know. Darren has said has given him a 5, saying he dropped a stinker today. See him on the
He
pitch.
wasn't that great today.
Anywhere.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably give him something like a 5.5, or maybe maybe a 6. I think 5 might be a little bit harsh, but 5.5 would be good, maybe, because as a striker, you're expected to get yourself a shot on goal. He wasn't really quite able to do that. And maybe there is a sense that he was hooked off a little bit too late. And thankfully, Jesus come on and sort of, spared his blushes. But Central, Nketiah, 5.5, or maybe a 5 or a 6. Where do you stand on this?
I give him a 5. The defense is kind of in trouble, and I don't think Eddie's in the room. That's a problem with Eddie, man. He's got the pace, but he's got no physicality on. It's like I don't see, like a couple weeks ago, not a couple weeks ago, a couple of days ago, I had my head scratched when he's announced he's in the England squad. It's like, really? You're like, what's that all about? But anyway,
surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about that either, because there are some stupid decisions, really. How can you not include Raheem Sterling, who has been in Sterling for Chelsea? Yeah, but Mr. B, Nketiah, how do you rate him?
Yeah, I agree with you there, fella. I think about 5.5, something like that. I don't think he definitely weren't at his best today. And as you say, he's probably better off the bench, really, coming on. I think he's a lot better with that. So just keep him as that, as a sub.
Yeah. Right. Now, of course, we're going to come finally to Gabriel Martinelli. And a lot of talk on several streams was on how he would end up being dropped for this game. Because, for some reason, I'll tell you what, one of the things I love, as I said, about Saka and Martinelli starting is that they give you a lot of pace and a lot of incisiveness down the wing. And he certainly gave Aaron Wan-Bissaka a dreadful time at right back. Although if there is a case that if Diogo Dalot was there, Martinelli wouldn't have had it so easy. But he was running down the left beautifully, making some crosses in. The only problem is he just, these days, just can't shoot for toffee.
Yeah,
and I'm tempted to give him something like maybe, a 6.5 or even maybe not a 7 necessarily. He did play the whole 100 minutes, and he runs beautifully. He draws those lines in the opposition territory. He has them unbalanced, but for some reason he's lost his shooting touch. And maybe for the game against Everton, we could see him, drop to the bench and brought on as another impact sub and give maybe Trossard a chance to show his talents down that left wing. Again, with Trossard, we seem to have a guy who's a jack of all trades and a master of none. And maybe being on the left wing would suit Trossard a lot better, give Martinelli a little bit of rest. But a 6.5 for Martinelli, would you concur, Mr. B?
Pretty much there, Manny. I just think, he is a good player, very good player, got pace, but, he's always not always in the end product a lot of the time, unfortunately. But I think he's always a threat, definitely always a threat, but yeah, not quite his best today. So I agree with you there.
Maybe a 6 then. I think Darren has been a little bit harsh in giving him a 4, but I suppose there is a point in that he just can't really seem to shoot. And he does mention that with his head, being bowed down, he just doesn't seem to be able to have that confidence and that authority to really stamp it on the game. And so maybe he would need to be dropped for Everton and encouraged to come on as more of an impact sub, give Trossard a chance to play. And yet, knowing Arteta as well as we do, I don't think that will happen. Central, what about you? How would you rate Martinelli today?
I give him probably a 6. I don't think he played terrible or great. He had a fine game. I thought he scored against Man United today, but unfortunately that's not the case. I feel like Martinelli, to me, I think he's a striker. I see him more of a striker than a winger. He just he needs to play as a striker, man. He's not. I think he outgrown being a winger. I want to see him more as a striker, man. I think I thought could benefit more as Martinelli as a striker, and in the future put Eddie on the bench and play Trossard alongside with Eddie and Saka.
Yeah.
So what you might be suggesting is Trossard on the left, Saka on the right, and Martinelli in the middle. I do like that, and that could be an example of how Arteta needs to, sort of listen to the sensibilities of his players and sort of look at what the best position would be. I am concerned about Martinelli. I think he needs to rediscover, a lot of that authority that he had, and apparently Darren's saying he can do great things once a season and get a few goals, not really good enough. I also think that maybe, you two do have a point. He's not being played in his best position, and maybe it would be time for us to look beyond Arteta. So, this season again will be the litmus test, and if we fail to win anything, he is going to have to go. And then we come to the substitutions. So Jorginho won't get a rating because he came on only with seconds to go. Reece Nelson came on in the 90th minute and didn't really do very much either, so he doesn't get a rating. So the three substitutions that came on at the same time in the 76th and 77th minute were Takahiro Tomiyasu, Fabio Vieira, and Gabriel Jesus. Jesus would certainly get something like a 7 or a 7.5 for the goal. We'll start with Jesus. 7.5 Central.
I give him a 7. I think that goal was good. I think he's shown like he's the old the Gabriel Jesus of last season. He came back from injury. Hope he stay fit for this season. I don't say Jesus is like he's not a striker who can bag in 20 goals. He's more like a striker scores about I'm gonna guess about 14 to 17 goals a season. I think he benefits more like a play in that more like a false 9 instead of he's more like a false 9 type of striker for me.
Yeah, I mean, you can't call him a false 9 because he is an out-and-out striker. And, of course, last season when we had him as the lone striker in the 4-2-3-1 position, that was when we were scoring goals and winning games. Maybe he wasn't scoring too much, but he was definitely contributing a lot more to the game than Alex Lacazette. Lacazette, of course. And I wouldn't go so far to say that he's back to his best because, I mean, he's just come back from an injury and he has to find his way in. And I certainly wouldn't necessarily want to have him start the next game either. I want him to, continue to be fresh. And as an impact sub, if he can come on and score some goals like that, jobs are good, as people would say up north. Mr. B, I know you're not exactly a northerner, but what would you say about that?
Well, I would have probably given him a 6, but for the goal, because he didn't do that much else when he come on, but he took the goal superbly, composure and all that. And so I thought he was going to be offside to start with, but he was well onside actually. But how he took it, went through and cut inside. Is it somebody come sliding in? Was it Evans or something? Might have been Evans come sliding in. And he cut back past him and then slotted it past the keeper. I thought that was a great goal, how he done all that. So I'd give him a 7 for that. But he's never a prolific goal scorer, never. I mean, he was like that at City, the same there. Never going to get loads of goals. But probably, as Central said, maybe about 14 goals, maybe, or something a season, possibly. If that. So,
it's not small potatoes, but it definitely could be a lot better. Tomiyasu didn't do very much when he came on, but at least he was a bit solid. I'd give him something like a 5.5. And Fabio Vieira coming on wasn't quite as impactful as he was against Fulham, but to me he would certainly get a 7 as well. Do you boys concur on both of those ratings?
I don't think Vieira did do a lot. I'd say a 6 for me, but
okay.
Do you say about Shai Havertz? Did you give him a mark? Or?
No, he doesn't get any damn thing.
No, he don't. No,
and Mr. Sullivan coming over here with 5s for both Tommy and Vieira. Maybe it's a fair rating because they didn't really come on and do very much. Do you boys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with
Central.
Fabio Vieira, I give him probably 6. You know, he didn't do much in this game because he come on very late. You know, I don't know about Vieira, man. Yeah, I don't know about Vieira, man. For this season, man. I kind of washed my hands off Vieira of last season. You know, I don't get the hype about him. You know,
he was good last week. Was it last week when he come on? He was good then, but didn't do a lot this time, did he? So
yeah,
I'm not.
exactly.
Yeah, I am not having any episode. I'm not really have any hype of Vieira, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I get that. Now we got someone else joining our stream a little bit late. In the spirit of better late than never, thank you all for coming on. Pargav, good to see you. First of all, are you back in Florida right now, and how's the situation over there with everything that's going on?
Yeah, the hurricane was it was this week. It was Tuesday and Wednesday. I mean, it was it's devastating. I mean, every time you have storm surge, it completely destroys the houses. It missed Orlando. It missed Orlando, but like it went on the coast. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, like storm surge is like when a hurricane hits, like if you're right by the beach, basically you're gonna get like pretty much like lots of water, and it would destroy houses and whatnot. So you see like a lot of houses. You see like I mean, when you look at images and stuff, it's pretty devastating.
Terrible,
but I think they will recover. They will recover. That area of Florida will recover. So.
Yeah, that area, of course, is the Gulf Coast where I lived, and Hillsborough County was affected. Pasco was affected. Still thinking of everyone back there in those areas, and hopefully, you know, with the help of President Biden and everyone involved, things will, you know, recover and get back to normal. But back to the football, or soccer, as you would call it, Pargav. I saw you in the chat, and obviously, you know, you're also of the opinion that we got out of jail. What was it that made you think that our performance didn't really merit the, you know, I mean, obviously, do you think our performance did merit the 3 points, and why do you think we still got out of jail today?
Oh, we didn't. We did not deserve 3 points. I mean, so I look at our team. Like when you look at the team last year, we were slicing teams apart. I mean, last year was incredible for the first half of the season. When you look at our team now, and I guess nowadays we have Man City standards, right? If Man City had that performance, they'll get criticized. We had a lot of possession. We passed around a lot. We didn't really cut them open as much. I thought Saka was poor. Odegaard, like I think he needs to I feel like he needs to be more active in these games. I know he had the great goal, but like he's in the most important position on our team, so expect more out of him. Eddie and Kedia, he's going to escape the blame again. I think Jesus does make a big difference. You notice today he's taking on players. He can move left, right, and that's a big. When he comes back, I think we might have a different Arsenal. Saka, he didn't do anything today in my eyes, but he's going to get away scot-free. Defensively, we were okay. I mean, I know Ramsdale was a little shaky at times too, but at the end of the day, I think up until 88th minute, I mean, if that the emotions of the game, Garnacho scores that goal, it was like a hair offside. It would have been a different story. So I think the game, it was a stellar ending. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you know, of course we're not, because as I was saying earlier on the stream, we can't, you know, just completely gas ourselves up and say, you know, we're title challengers. And that's not one thing I'm going to do, because we did the same thing last season with a lot of these last minute victories, especially against, you know, Bournemouth. And we had a lot of people saying, stuff of champions, this is going to be our year. And I said, pipe down, everyone. The performance did not merit that. Merit 3 points. We got lucky, and you know, you can't serve people like us crap and call it chicken curry, as I would always say. And I think we can possibly agree that in some respects this performance today was a little bit better than against Bournemouth, but it's still, you know, we can't keep lauding these last minute victories and say stuff of champions and all that. And I'm not about to say that because it's only 4 games in. But 2 questions for you now, Pargav. How big of a loss do you think Partey's injury would be? The good thing about him getting injured is that we didn't have to play him at right back today. We shifted to what was more like a flat back 4. But his injury for 3 months could come at a dreadful time, especially since we're starting our Champions League campaign. He will be a big loss. And how seething are you with our lack of activity in the last few days of the transfer window?
2 questions, right? So Partey is a big loss. So now with Partey gone, we have no continuity in that midfield when you think about it. all the chemistry that we built up for 2 years and let people play, like it's kind of gone now, like in the midfield. So that connection's going to take some time to develop. I think it's going to be kind of bumpy for about 10 games till we figure it out. Like Rice did really well today. I mean, I liked what he was doing. Havertz, I think Havertz could benefit. So Havertz is a difficult situation. I know like people are gonna knock him completely, but I think like when Jesus gets back, he's gonna get more support in that center area. But at the same time, I think Martinelli and like Saka's crossing is not that great to begin with. So like they don't find him at times. So Havertz, I mean, those connections take time to develop. So for about 10 games, I think we're just gonna have to like deal with it. The other reason the Partey loss is big is he can be an absolute destroyer. What he does is it's incredible sometimes. Like in the games that he's fit. So when we play the bigger teams, I think we're gonna or teams that have better midfields, I think we're really gonna struggle. The other one, the transfer business, yeah. So the Declan Rice deal was done like July 15th. So for about 45 days, I think they've spent selling Balogun and outgoings, right? So they pretty much spent 45 days figuring out the goalkeeping situation, and then the Balogun sale and Tierney. I don't know why our club doesn't do loans. We could have used like one loan with an option to buy, and it's like an audition for him. So our transfer business, when you think about it, it's been kind of shambolic. I'd probably give it like a 6. I mean, we did get like a start player for 4 or 5 years. The Timber signing is kind of it kind of sucks. It really does suck. That's a really terrible situation, but I probably have to give it a 6. Like
it is a dreadful one, and obviously, I mean, I wouldn't even give it a 6, mind you. And Arsenal since 1987 asked the question: if Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, and Kiwior pick up injuries, what is Arteta going to do then? Especially considering he's allowed our best left back to go on loan to Spain and will eventually wash our hands off of him. Although maybe under a new manager, Tierney could be brought back. And again, that talks. It sort of comes into the idea that if you want to experiment, you've got to make sure you treat all your players fairly and develop some different situations and formations which would suit practically everyone. It was ridiculous, in my opinion, to hear Arteta in the press conference talk a little bit about how there are a number of different formations in every single game. I mean, what the hell are you playing at, man? We all know that his different decision to experiment with Partey at right back is just so that he doesn't have to bring Kieran Tierney back into the team ever again. And there's always such a thing as responsible experimentation and irresponsible experimentation. I love that comment. Driving back to Guardiola's house to resume his duties as his personal butler. And Darren, to the point, saying his squad and team management is an absolute disaster. Yeah. You know, at least today we went back to the basics of a flat back 4 and reverted to, you know, the way we were, as it were, last season especially. But again, back to this question, we don't have a proper traditional left back. He's still hell bent on doing this inverted sort of nonsense. And so if a situation comes where, you know, his left backs who aren't left backs end up getting injured and we end up completely being, stretched. I mean, he is going to have to be forced to call on some teams from the academy or make a few, emergency requests. Or does he yank Tierney back? Everything has literally been an absolute disaster. And Pargav, I'll start with you, then go to Central, and then Mr. B. What do you think about that question? How do you answer that?
Which one? The one on the
this one here.
Yeah,
this one here. I mean, yeah.
It's a tough one. This is a tough one because Zinchenko for now starts. I think he can. He's one of those guys. I think like, I mean, obviously the system's like built around him and whatnot, but he on his day he can be really good. But if they all go out, I mean, that's gonna be a nightmare scenario. But I can see it happening. Tomiyasu's injury prone. Zinchenko's injury prone. Kiwior, we don't really quite know yet. I mean, Gabriel will probably play in that, like, is like the backup, like left back at that point. How will we do for the season if that happens? I think we're gonna struggle. I think it's gonna take some time for our team. Like about 10 games, I think it's gonna be up and down. So I'm resigned to that at this point. It's kind of sad, but I am kind of resigned to that.
It's ridiculous. It really is. And it keeps happening again and again and again. And I think BX Gunner has just nailed it. The reason why we look so disjointed and lack chemistry is because he's completely, let the ball drop, as it were. I mean, I don't want to, repeat that, but
Sorry.
it's mentioned over there. He should be trying to get the best out of all of our squad and not the worst or the most, or trying to just pick his favorites over here. Pretty much well said. And Central, what is your view on this whole potential injury crisis and poor crisis of poor management?
Yeah, losing Party was a big blow. Yeah, we gotta be careful. We gotta be careful, man. If we lose one more player due to injury, that's our season gone for another season. That's our season for another season because like Zinchenko, he's prone to injury. Tomiyasu, we know his track record of injuries. We got to. I think that's what happens when not take this taking transfer windows seriously, whether it's the summer or the January transfer window. You got to have a plan B of the sake of a plan B. I think I think Arteta and this club, they just don't have a plan B. They're just basically, they're just they just don't. I don't have like the answer of this. They're just basically they're just clueless. They're just like an Arteta, man. He's just like, he's living this in this scientist world, like he's doing these putting these players out in the natural positions. It's just like, I don't know, man. This is gonna peak if we lose. I don't know. It's too early for the season. We have to wait until November if we're in this title contention. Are we no contenders of the title? But besides that, I'm just like, we got to be careful going into the rest of September and October and the season.
Couldn't agree more with that. It's about being careful, avoiding injuries, and also at least having the sense to know that if things aren't going wrong, sometimes you have to change it. But that is something that Arteta just doesn't have. And Mr. B, I'm sure we'll get your opinion on this. We'll probably talk a little bit more about another topic, and then we'll start to wrap up. But thanks a lot to everyone who's joined in a little bit late and had your say. I wanted to make sure you could come on. But back to you, Mr. B. What do you think about this particular point?
Well, I pretty much agree with the rest of the lads' comments there. It was all, it's all a shit show, isn't it, really? I mean, for Arsenal, I mean, they should have had backup, other replacements brought in, in the transfer window. Okay, they obviously thought they wouldn't need them with Timber and all that would be great. But look at what happened with him, and he's injured again. We all know what happens when they come to Arsenal. Everyone gets injured. They have a great season, no injuries, wherever they've been before. As soon as they come to Arsenal, injuries. So what is that? What is it about Arsenal? Is it the training pitches? Is it the medical staff? What is it? Why are they? I mean, what was it? He had no injuries when he was at Atletico Madrid, maybe one or two. But, once he comes to Arsenal, fucked, isn't he? Sorry, I shouldn't swear. Sorry about that, man. But it is bad, It's terrible. And I think, well, where is there going to be the backup? You've got to wait till January. Will it be too late by then,
Yeah, and judging by our business in January, what we did last season when we got Trossard in, we'll just do the bare minimum and hope and pray that everything works out. But, it is...
by the way. Apologise, sorry.
It's all good. Just try not to repeat it. I mean, I know Dell swears all the time. It is his channel, but we can try and keep it to a minimum, especially given that he's not here at the moment. Run by non-footballing people at the top that that put Patsy's in charge. And Darren has pretty much nailed it. I know he's in the Mediterranean. Maybe the Wi-Fi isn't good. Otherwise, we'd have him on here. I mean, we always love having him come on here. But now the final topic I want to talk about. Easy, Roy Keane. Now you need to ask that question. I think Casemiro is still a good player, but I think he just doesn't have that sort of bulldog thing that Keane does. But then I think, to quote someone else in the chat, Keane would, get into a fight against his own shadow. That's the type of thing he is. But obviously, now another particular talking point, and we are going to start wrapping it up after this, is the use of VAR. Now, this season, obviously, we've seen a great deal of controversy with the application of that, with several questionable decisions, being made. But I think when VAR was called into action twice for the Havertz penalty that never was and which was rightfully overturned, and the Garnacho goal, which is also correctly overturned according to the letter of the law, that was a case of it working. But this season, we've seen it, not work at all as well as we would like it to work. And today was one day where we got it, where it was gotten right. Now, I'm always a believer that any technology which can be used to improve a game and eliminate mistakes is always going to be welcome. And Mr. B, I will come to you first on this because there's a cricket connection. You see how the third umpire uses the VAR technology perfectly to eliminate any kind of mistakes, whether it's balls being grounded on the floor, whether it's some LBW shouts, whether they go on to hit the wicket or not, whether it's run out cases if the batsman has crossed his crease or not. That is used correctly, and in the end, the umpires are made to accept that they got it wrong, but at least they end up with some respect and tact. But the issue I'm getting over here, especially at the beginning of this season, is that referees have become so precious, they just don't seem to be willing to accept the decisions of the VAR people. And sometimes the VAR people may not even, in a few cases, apply the letter of the law correctly, or even if they do, it might be a little bit too strictly sometimes. And some people just, there are some people who won't really abide by that. So what do you think about the VAR decisions today? And do you believe that VAR shouldn't really be blamed, but rather it's the referees and other people who are, the men in charge or the women in charge in some cases?
Well, as you were saying there, Manny, about cricket, it all works great in cricket. We can see done right, it's fantastic. We come to the right decision most of the time. Same with rugby, it all works in rugby, as we know. Tennis, whatever. But I think with football, it's always going to be the case. It goes so quick and then everything happens so quickly. It's hard to get, the right decision every time. I know the VAR's there to help the referees, and most of the time it does. I think it was good today. I agree with that decision today. It wasn't a penalty. He made the most of that, Havertz. You see how he kicked the guy's leg. When he went for it, the guy didn't touch him and he kicked the back of his leg and went over. He touched his leg and went over. That was definitely not a penalty, and that's the right decision. But when you see that happen, the referees go there and they generally always give a penalty, don't they, when they look at it on the screen? And I thought that was right today. I think that was great refereeing today. I really do. But, I won't rubbish VAR too much because they give us a good decision against Fulham, because that was a pretty soft penalty, but it probably wasn't a penalty. But, we got it, and, so, I can't rubbish them too much. But, sometimes they've got a lot wrong this season, and it's not working too well at the moment. But how do you change it? What do you do? I always said about getting ex-players in to look at it, because ex-players know, don't they? They know what's a good tackle and what isn't, and all this and decisions. So, but they won't. They don't want to do it, do they? Ex-players, they don't want to come in and do VAR. So, I don't know how you do change it, mate. To be honest,
I think the best way to change it would be to just, have, the VAR's word be final. And when you try to set some guidelines for certain fouls or infringements and put them in stone, you stick to them no matter what, and make sure that is done. And that should really be done before every single season, so that there won't be any such controversies in the future. Central, what do you think about all of this?
VAR, I can't really have an answer about this. Boy, this is like, I think they need to work on the kinks of VAR. It's been about 4 years since we have VAR in the Premier League, 5 of that World Cup in Russia. But I think we need to work on the kink. They need to work on the kinks.
Yeah, well, Darren basically saying get rid of VAR and leave it to the refs, but if we left it to the refs, it would have been an Arsenal penalty, and that Garnacho goal would have stood.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, they are these fine margins, and sometimes you have to take your hat off to VAR and say that when they get those fine margins decisions right, they get them right, and we can't have any complaints. I have no complaints about the penalty. I have no complaints about the penalty not being awarded. I have no complaints about the Garnacho goal being disallowed either. Pargav, you can have the final word on this. What do you think about VAR today, and how do you think it should work going forward? Because I think VAR should be here to stay. It's just a shame that it's not being used properly in certain cases.
No, today was an excellent day for VAR. I mean, I thought it was a penalty with the Havertz one, but then when they showed the back angle, I'm like, no, this ain't a penalty. So, and then same thing with the Garnacho goal. I mean, just as long as mates aren't spared grief, as the comments go with the Mike Dean one, I'm kind of okay with the VAR. I mean, it was always going to take some time to get the kinks out of the way. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, with VAR, today was a really good day.
Yeah, but I think, as I said, you've got to set some guidelines for certain fouls, which are going to be subject to VAR decisions, and make sure you stick to the letter. And when you do that, you avoid all controversy, because sometimes when decisions are so wishy-washy, it's a little bit. It could be unexplainable. And Darren's saying the United disallowed goal looked a little bit offside when in real time, but when you saw the replay, it looked onside. The angles can be deceiving. So that just goes to show that you can't always leave everything to the refs in certain cases, because if that goal had been allowed, we'd be staring at a 2-1 defeat, completely hopping mad, and we'd be coming on here completely angry. But as it was, we ended up with a win. Del Boy's daughter Lily had a wonderful birthday today, so that's two great things happening today. And as always, I'm really grateful to Del Boy for giving me the chance to host this stream. But it is Del Boy Gunner TV, not Manny Gunner TV, and I do my best to try to keep things as smooth as possible. Sometimes I make a few goof ups, but it is what it is. I just do the best I can. But it's not about me. It's the people who come onto this stream and who are in the chat that make this video and Del's channel what they are. I'm really grateful to all of you who've come in and taken this beyond 2 hours. I'm going to shout all of you out now. I've shouted as many of you as I could. But Bhargav, you can't come in late, but you've probably added a great deal to this stream as well. Do please tell us where we can find you and what you've got coming up.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Don't really do the YouTube much anymore, but what do I have coming up? Not really, just enjoying the sports as they come. This, I guess, international break this weekend, right? This next upcoming week. So looking forward to that. Big up to Doughboy and the post-match reactions on this channel, because they're really balanced. I mean, a lot of other channels try to sweep things under the rug and whatnot. Here, I think people come on and just speak their mind, have a good debate, have a good chat. So
that's terrific.
I hope he gets to 1,000 real quickly. I hope he gets to 1K really quickly, by the way. He deserves it.
Yeah, and we're always glad to have people coming on, especially people you coming on. And thanks a lot for coming on. Central, your turn now. Where can we find you, and what do you have coming up?
You can follow me at Central Man Network. You can follow me at Central Man Network on YouTube. I'm on 353 subscribers. After this, I'm taking a bit of a break of content because I'm gonna get my wisdom teeth removed, and then I'm looking forward for the upcoming Rugby World Cup that kicks off this Friday. So I might do some games reactions. While I'm in a bit of pain, but yeah.
Okay, but you take care, because wisdom teeth getting pulled out is no laughing matter. Hopefully, the people responsible will do a good job with the anesthetics. Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, Mr. B, who's also come on, not an Arsenal fan, but always a welcome addition for a neutral perspective and someone who has a lot to say. Where can we find you, and what do you have coming up? You seem to be quite busy.
Yeah, I am, mate. Yeah, I've obviously got my channel still going strong at the moment. Mr. B Hive Football Chat. It's at Mr. B for Life 182. Got on 42 subs at the moment, so I'm trying to get up to 50. I know it don't sound a lot compared to most of you, but looking to get up to 50 subs. That'd be great. The channel's going well, doing quite a few streams. I've had a few people on as well. So I'd like to have more fans coming on, would be great, onto my channel. So obviously on Insta, and I'm on Twitter, or it's called X now, I think. Don't know why. Anyway, it's called X. So I'm on there as well, but I won't say much about that. Mainly Insta. So thanks again, Manny, and to all the rest of the guys. And come on, you bees.
Yeah, and a quick question to you. I believe Darren had a question. Yeah, Mr. B, that striker behind you should be our next signing in January. The problem is, Darren, they've already lost Tony for a bit of time. They're not going to get rid of Mbuemo. I think you can agree with that, can't you?
Yeah, nice one, Darren, but you ain't getting him, mate, I'm afraid. We're keeping Mbuemo. He's, one of our best players. Why would we get rid of him? If we get rid of Tony, so what? I don't care. 80 mil. And he said he slagged us off, so he can go as far as I'm concerned. But, Mbuemo's been brilliant, and we want to keep him. So sorry, mate, but bad luck.
Yeah, but be careful. I mean, you said the same thing about David Ryan. That didn't work out too well, so... be a bit careful, Mr. B. Be a bit careful.
Yeah, you've still. And
Pargav, just quickly, what are your predictions for our Champions League campaign?
The Champions League campaign? I would say we're going to win the group, but we should win the group actually. But I just hope we don't make a meal of it. The way things are going, I think it's going to be closer than people think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if our past Europa League campaigns are anything to go by, making a meal of it is probably what we do best, and that meal will not be nice. And if this is what it means by allowing Arteta to cook, he'll end up burning our Sunday roast. Thankfully, the roast beef, the Yorkshire puddings, and the potatoes turned out all right in the end. But in the end, not eventually, not before that. But anyway, we are about to end it all. Thanks a lot to everyone who's joined in. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to our panelists. And once again, big up to Lily, Del Boy's girl, Sweet 16 today. Yeah. And final comment here, we could be in trouble. We might be grateful for second. Well, Sevilla, of course, are bottom of La Liga currently, lacking in a bit of confidence. So maybe the prospects are a bit brighter. We just never know. But all we can do is wait and see. No club football for a week. It's international break, so we will reconvene again in about 2 weeks. But it's been a good result today, if not a good game. It's been a good crack today, and the bleeding story is we won 3-1, and we move on. And Del Boy, as always, love to you. This is Del Boy Gunner TV, not Manny Gunner TV. You're always the main man, no matter what. So, as he would say, take care of yourselves. God bless every one of you, and have yourselves a very good evening, afternoon, good night, and God bless.
Henri, what a goal! Side of goal!